I'd like to welcome our second panel of witnesses before the committee. First, Mr. Michael Beall, President and CEO of National Cooperative Business Association. Mr. Beall joins us today on behalf of the National Cooperative Business Association, where he serves as the President and CEO. Before joining NCBA, he served as President and CEO of the Missouri Credit Union Association and President and CEO of the Maryland District of Columbia Credit Union Association. He additionally held positions at the World Council of Credit Unions and the North Carolina Credit Union League. Anybody need any credit in the audience, you ought to see Mr. Beall. Welcome, Mr. Beall. I look forward to hearing from you. We'll wait to introduce the second panelist after you conclude, sir. Please feel free to summarize your comments.
Good morning, Chairman Roberts. You've introduced me. NCBA works to provide educational, technical expertise and advocacy that helps cooperatives thrive and survive in today's economy. My remarks today will focus on the new day in U.S.-Cuba relations and some ways forward to foster better, more productive and positive relationships between the two countries, notably through agricultural trade. As a preface, I want to convey two thoughts regarding U.S.-Cuban cooperative development. First, the U.S. should view Cuban cooperatives as a fundamental to building market-based economy in Cuba, one that incorporates a proven business model and economic empowerment for member owners, for consumers. Cooperatives are functioning, successful businesses that provide tangible economic ownership and benefits to consumers wherever they're found, and NCBA is optimistic that Cuban cooperatives will be no exception to this rule. Second, U.S. cooperatives here are ready to assist right now. We've already begun to build ties with Cuban cooperatives, and we can hit the ground running whenever the laws discussed in the first panel permit. The message here is simple. Put U.S. cooperatives to work with Cuban cooperatives. By way of background, there are 29,000 member-owned co-ops in the U.S., employing about 2 million folks. 1 in 3 American consumers does business with a cooperative. And consumers and producers benefit greatly from cooperatives in areas like agriculture in particular, but also in housing, rural electric and telecommunication, and credit unions. Co-ops work for consumers. The cooperative form of business where the members own the enterprise is particularly well suited for the Cuban people, and especially in this period of transition. Cooperative ownership combined with cooperative business practices that use the profits for the benefit of the members and the form of governance where each member gets 1 vote are all features that are going to have special appeal as they grow in Cuba. Our understanding is that Cuba has begun to change its cooperative laws starting in 2011, making lots of businesses become cooperatives and changing the ownership structure. This is a welcome departure from the other types of government or state-owned enterprises. NCBA, in our work, we've been told by Cuban cooperative officials there are about 5,200 agricultural cooperatives currently operating in Cuba that contribute 80% of all the fruits and vegetables consumed by consumers. And by all appearances, this Cuban ag sector is the foundation for their economic stability and growth. NCBA has taken preliminary steps to initiate stronger ties with Cuban co-ops. Last year, we established the U.S.-Cuba Cooperative Working Group to explore opportunities to engage with Cuba on cooperative development. We sponsored a trip last year of co-op leaders, establishing connections, and actually we're hosting a group of co-op ag leaders the first week of May. In terms of some of what I've seen in travel to co-ops, there are challenges. There's lots of focus on the 1950s era cars, but in the co-op farms we visited, the ag equipment is from that era as well, and it would be considered vintage. One of the other main concerns that I would say that I saw is that none of the cooperatives for us produced financial statements. And so we're not able to verify how profitable are these cooperatives, what are the expenses that they're taking on, and more importantly, perhaps most importantly, what is the treatment of the state-owned equipment that's being delivered over to co-ops, what's the treatment on the balance sheet of the land that cooperatives are operating on. So as NCBA, as cooperatives build relationship with Cuban cooperatives, this is really where we want to see progress. This is where we want to see proof, if you will, that that the cooperatives are independent and able to manage these assets and not with interference from the Cuban government. I did return very optimistic about the future of U.S.-Cuban and cooperative endeavors. Furthermore, the challenges facing the cooperatives there are technical, they're accounting, educational obstacles are the exact kinds of issues that can be addressed and addressed well by Americans and American co-ops. We stand with U.S. co-ops ready to provide this as soon as the legal and governmental issues between the two countries are resolved. U.S. co-ops are a compatible development tool that can make a difference in developing healthy and vibrant cooperatives in Cuba, and cooperatives that can over time become valuable to both the American and the Cuban consumer. The legal and governmental issues we've talked about this morning are real and are something for us to look to policymakers like you to resolve. NCBA is a business group focused on consumer empowerment and economic results. We're leaving diplomacy to the diplomats. As the new U.S.-Cuban relationship takes shape, NCBA respectfully but forcefully wants to remind Congress that we're here, that cooperatives are ready to roll up their sleeves and get to work, and cooperatives are an ideal democratic structure and form of operation that can produce results on the ground. Cooperatives are going to help the Cuban people develop financially viable, member-owned businesses that assist in the economic empowerment of Cuban entrepreneurs. And in doing so, we provide Cuban consumers with marketplace choices and, perhaps most importantly, further U.S. interests by demonstrating the benefit of democracy and financial independence that ownership confers.